Mr. President, 50 years ago, 51 years ago to be specific, the Citizens for Nixon Agnew descended upon the city of Indianapolis in Indiana, a city to which a young man named Richard Lugar had been elected mayor. And that was my first opportunity to meet former Senator Richard Lugar, who died a few days ago. He became Richard Nixon's favorite mayor. He persuaded the suburban areas around Indianapolis and the city itself to do something almost no city in America has been able to do. Nashville did it, Miami did it, Indianapolis did it, but that was to have a unified government, to get rid of 60 different municipal governments and form one. But no one was very surprised when Richard Lugar was able to accomplish something, because he'd been marked from the beginning as a young man of extraordinary ability. At Denison, where he went to college, he became a Rhodes Scholar. He studied at Oxford. He became a Navy intelligence officer. Later on in the 60s, I mentioned 1968 was the year that we met him for the first time. He was able as mayor to deal not only with the unification of Indianapolis, but the difficult racial times that occurred all over America during the late 1960s. No one was surprised when he ran for the United States Senate in 1974. He was defeated in the Watergate sweep. That wiped out a large number of promising young candidates, which I have a little personal experience with in Tennessee. And no one was surprised when he came back in 1976 and won. As soon as he was elected, he organized the other Republican senators who were elected that year to vote for Howard Baker Jr. for the Republican leader of the Senate in January 1977. And Senator Baker won that race by one vote. So you can imagine that Senator Baker had a very high opinion of Senator Richard Lugar, and they became close friends. I first really worked with him in 1980 when I was governor of Tennessee, and Senator Baker wanted to run for president. So he summoned to Nashville to meet in my office Senator Lugar and his young aide, Mitch Daniels, later the governor of Indiana, and now the president of Purdue University, and Warren Redmond, the senator from New Hampshire, and his young aide, Tom Rath. I admired Dick Lugar then, and I admired him throughout the rest of his career. It was a privilege to serve with him on the Foreign Relations Committee while he was the chairman of it when I was elected to the United States Senate. I noticed that unlike all of us senators, when Richard Lugar had something to say, he had something to say, so people actually listened to him. We have a tradition in the Republican caucus where we have Thursday lunch hosted by various members of our caucus. I'll serve something from the Jack Daniels, the town where Jack Daniels made, not the whiskey, but the food. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith served some Mississippi food last week before the recess. And we go around the room in the order in which we came in, and everyone will stand up and say something. Well, we all say something, but what was different about Richard Lugar was at those Thursday lunches, he actually had something to say. He was intelligent, thoughtful, he studied, he was never flamboyant, he was not into symbolic votes. He dominated Indiana politics for 36 years, and he had the respect of virtually anyone whom he ever met. Not many senators in our history have the opportunity to do what he did with former Senator Nunn, and that was with their Nunn-Lugar law to basically dismantle thousands of nuclear weapons and take out the explosive parts of them and render them useless as an instrument of war for the future. He continued to work for a safe world, playing a major role in the New START Treaty in 2010. There will be many memorials and many speeches and many compliments paid to Senator Lugar, President Obama awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in our country. But I'll remember him for his quiet, unassuming, highly intelligent, thoughtful style of leadership. The world is better and safer because of Richard Lugar's life in public service. He was always a gentleman, always principled. He was a model for what all of us should hope for in our public officials. He was a good friend for many years. My wife, Honey, and I and our family send our sympathy and our respect for the life of Richard Lugar to Shar and his family. I yield the floor.